Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video. And today I want to take a look at how one of the existing archetypes that we've had through Awakenings changes a little bit with Spirit of Rebellion. And by a little bit, I mean quite a bit. To be very clear on this, I have not tested this extensively. This is more of an initial look at how Spirit of Rebellion might impact Poe Rey rather than some sort of definitive new version of the deck. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by taking a look at some cool helpers that this deck gets. So we get Planetary Uprising and 3PO, which I think both help the deck a ton. Now, Planetary Uprising, I admit, costs 2, so that's kind of troubling. It slows your deck down the turn you play it. But my goodness, I've played this with Maz Poe quite a bit, and it's pretty crazy. Once you get this down, as you start moving into the mid game, like let's say turn 3 and 4, even if you get this turn 1, by that point you've now set yourself up where really all you have to do is, you know, put a cheater card down, roll out Poe, resolve the one special, then turn around your next action, claim the battlefield, which is if it's the throne room, trigger the other special, throwing something else, and having Planetary Uprising go off. So your whole turn ends exceedingly fast, but in the process you do an absurd amount of damage, and your opponent doesn't have a great way around this. It's like, okay, I know this person's going to claim, throw something at my face, and do 2 more, but what is my option? My option is to claim and do nothing this turn. I think Planetary Uprising is going to have a major impact in Poe decks. I think it's just fantastic for any deck that's going quickly. 3PO, I think he's really good just as that sort of helper card, right? Like, you rolled Poe out and it was garbage. That's unfortunate. That is truly unfortunate. But 3PO allows you to be able to then resolve one of those sides without having to re-roll it. Your opponent is essentially going to have to be removing your bad Poe dice because they won't get a chance once you get 3PO out there. It's possible you need 2 3POs. I don't know. He's a little bit slow, but I think he's really effective. He basically kind of replaces a data pad for me, but it's a slower version, right? With the data pad, it's much easier to go like hit and run, roll out Poe with the data pad on him, taking the next action to flip him to a special with the data pad special. But 3PO is just better at it, even though he's slower at it. Speaking of cheating out actions, wow, that's where this deck just got absurd. So in Awakenings we had Holdout Blaster, Hit and Run is pretty rough. They would cheat out regularly, but now they've upped the ante by being able to go Vibro Knife in addition to Holdout Blaster onto Rey. That gives them just 4 straight out cheats. They can use Swiftness if they have an extra dollar to be able to make anything into a cheat. This is one that I think this particular list will need to be honed more to have some more cheaper cards in it that can go with Swiftness. I think right now there's Force Illusion at 1, and I think that's about it. I've actually taken Comlink out of this particular build, and maybe it goes so well with Swiftness that you end up putting it back. I'm not 100% sure on that. And then, of course, you have Hit and Run. But basically, you have 8 cards rather than 4 cards that cheat. And that's insane. It really might mean people just have to kill Rey first. And I feel like if they have to kill Rey first, wow, like Poe just going wild seems amazing for you. All right, so let's talk about the cards that are getting chucked around here. And there's been a major upgrade here. We no longer have to have stuff like Luke's lightsaber. The handcrafted light bow is just better than Luke's lightsaber in every way. The question though is, what do you do with the rest of them? This feels a little light. I'd kind of like to have 2 U-Wings in here. I'd like to have a second rocket launcher, probably a second one with a Force if we think that Rey is going to be the one that dies. But essentially now you have a lot more options that are consistent 3s for free in U-Wing and the handcrafted bow. And then you get the rocket launcher. I think a 1 of rocket launcher makes a lot of sense. To have a 4 if you need it. Yes, it costs 1, but it can be worth it. And then to be able to just throw a vehicle out of the sky off of Poe's ability, that sounds so fun. I just really want that to happen. But this is definitely a spot where there's a lot of room for growth and development as we figure out, are these 7 really enough to be cards that are being chucked at the face, or do we want a couple of U-Wings? What do we want to add to that? Another way in which this deck, I feel like, improves over the old version is keeping people alive. We're able to swap out the decent willpower with the totally insane Force Illusion. Force Illusion is just crazy as long as they're not using the Vibro Knife. It's so good against those big burst moments where you're like, I'm fine. Oh no, they rolled, 3 and a +3 and a +3, and Force Illusion just crushes that so hard. It's just such a good card. And then Caution is just a really awesome version of Dug In. I mean, we all know that when we play this deck, you roll raised dice, and you're like, whatever. Okay, they're garbage, cool. But it's fine, because Caution gives you 3 shields on Poe for just 1 of those garbage Ray dice, and it can go the reverse if you really need to keep Ray alive. So I feel like it's a really good card. You could say, well, one of these 2 is going to die fast, so maybe it'd be better still to have 2 Dug In, 1 Caution. But I think having 3 of these cards in total works really well. And it's nice to have 1 more card where you don't need the battlefield, because the meta is going to be, I think, both really fast and really slow. I think the slower decks are going to realize, throw their hands up and go, whatever, I cannot compete with 4 speed and all this ridiculousness, so I'm not even going to deal with that. I'm going to go another way, and I'm not going to run any of that stuff, and I'm going to go really slow. But there are going to be those decks that are super fast, and Dug In may not go off that often in this deck. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Still has Field Medic, that kind of stuff. And then it also gets new removal pieces. One of the big problems for me in the past was removal wasn't good enough. It was like you had Force Misdirection, which maybe worked, maybe didn't, and Defensive Position, which maybe worked, maybe didn't. Now you have other cards like High Ground, which I think is really great if you think you're going to get the battlefield. Like I said, this deck is going to need more testing. If it doesn't get the battlefield, there's all kinds of other options. You can throw a Misdirect back in there along with the Deflect. You can put more guards in. There's really a lot of pieces that could go in here, and I feel like Poe Ray has a lot more potential to build differently. It could build as a really defensive deck with a lot of removal cards, a lot of health gain. It could go the opposite, and it could just get rid of most of the removal and health gain. I'm not entirely sure where we're going, but the point is, there's a lot more options in Spirit of Rebellion that I think are better. Guard is just a really good card. Being able to remove, 2 dice from raise +2, it's just really strong. All right, so one of the big questions you might have is why no Force Speed? And I don't know. I mean, I just can't fit it. Poe Ray tries to do so much with needing removal, health gain, stuff to throw at their face. I'm not sure Force Speed is well positioned in this particular deck, and I might be wrong. It may just take it to a whole nother level. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. But the bottom line is, this is not by any means a finished product. This is us kind of taking a first look at what happens with Poe Ray when we put Spirit of Rebellion cards in it. And I think the bottom line is you have a lot more choices, right? I feel like with Awakenings, you pretty much knew everything you were going to see in the deck and could play around it. There are way more choices now, both on the removal side and on the health gain side and on the chucking at the face side. So you never really know what to expect. And I think it's going to be interesting for us as a community as we go through and fine-tune this particular list more, and to try to figure out what are the right cards to have in it, right? What is the right numbers of cards to be throwing to have that consistency? Do you actually need all 8 cheater cards, or can you cut Swiftness and just put in its place 2 U-Wings or something like that? Do you need more removal? So just to be clear, not the end product, but I think we have a good start here for figuring out how this deck is going to go. And I think it's still going to be a competitive deck. For me, the jury's really out as to whether this version is better or a Maz version is better. And I really don't know yet. A couple of reasons why I like this version a lot is Force Illusion. I think Force Illusion is a really, really great card. And there's so many great new blue events with high ground, guard, caution. They're just so strong. It makes me think maybe Ray Poe is going to be the way, and then of course Vibro Knife. So we're gonna have to see. But I can't wait to try this deck more, and I will certainly get back to you soon with more data and more ideas on where this deck is going. So I'll see you next time on Time to Grab Games.